Geopolitics continues to remain the wild card in this entire debacle. Josh, earlier today, word broke that Russia was going to suspend exporting of various commodities. It was also announced today, I believe, President Biden will no longer accept or will no longer allow U.S. ports to accept Russian oil for imports. Moreover, Russia has also announced last week that it was suspending international payments to various bondholders.
Yeah, and then what are we seeing today? It is insane. Nickel just went from like 28,000 to 80,000 in 4 days. There's just
100. It touched 100.
It went to 100,000. Holy smokes! It is.
And then it's not just went to 100, and then it was shut down. That's the key thing. House closed, as Jim Rickards would say from that. But the reason I mention all of this is that it comes back to, and I keep thinking more and more and more in terms of collateral, not to assault our viewership with yet another collateral video here. But the thing that I find interesting, whatever the system is, whether it's silver or gold on COMEX, whether it's GME short positions through the DTCC or through whoever else might be short, the end goal is that all these systems, when they expand and lever up, they have to have a slim sliver of collateral that they rest upon. And if this collateral becomes impaired, for example, if you have some bank that lent to, let's say, a Russian bank, and now that bank that lent to the Russian bank is not going to receive payments, or the payments will be denominated in, let's say, rubles instead of euros, or whatever the native currency was, you've got a problem. Or that asset on the lender's balance sheet has a problem. If you are COMEX or LBMA, for example, which I think also suspended Russian refiners from supplying gold bars. But if you are potentially on the hook or guaranteeing delivery of these commodities, and if you take a material amount of these commodities or a source of these commodities offline, what are you going to do if somebody calls your bluff? This is where nickel comes back into the equation. Earlier today that you saw the short squeeze happen on that front. So I do not know what to make of all of this beyond the fact that geopolitics continues to be this random ass wild card that just keeps getting thrown like a grenade over and over and over again. Also note, just before we came on, I saw an article. I didn't have a chance to read through it, but Turkey basically came out and said, yep, we will continue to do business with Russia in rubles, so be it. Essentially, they were, from my cursory glance, Turkey affirmed that they would essentially ignore the U.S. sanctions on doing business with Russia and continue to do business on Russia. The reason that's particularly interesting for me, at least from a geopolitical standpoint, is that Turkey, or Istanbul, is in Turkey, and within Istanbul is the Bosphorus, which is the strait of water between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. In other words, if the Russian naval fleet is stationed in Crimea and along the northern part of the Black Sea, in order to access the Mediterranean and therefore access the rest of the world, it has to be able to transit through the Bosphorus. And if Turkey controls Istanbul and Istanbul controls the Bosphorus, then you've got a potential choke point arising from geography. Anyways, I find that very, very interesting. I think the other thing too is watching the Wang and the Jeff Snyder interview today, and also Snyder and Emil's video from earlier today too, talking about collateral and going back to touching of course on a GME for all those who want to hear the GME dish. Is collateral, I think, is the key in order to expand the balance sheets. Balance sheet expansion is the key to be able to continue to maintain short positions. And moreover, not just any collateral, but pristine collateral. And if you don't have pristine collateral, you need to work financial alchemy to transmute.
You only have to do that when times are tough and people call you upon it. When times are fine, that is when the stock market's going up for 10 years straight and there's absolutely no issues. You don't need to put in pristine collateral because, Justin, we're good for it. I've been doing business with you for the past 5 years. We have a great relationship, and hey, don't worry about it. Like,
trust me, bro.
Yeah, you got me when you got me. I understand. I lent you $20 2 weeks ago, but I know when I need it, you got me, because we've been boys since we were 5. And I think that's what a lot is what's happening right now. If these banks are just saying, okay, you know what, we are close, Justin, we're boys, so I'm not going to make you put up the collateral that you promised you'd put up, but hey, this is the last time I'll do that for you. And then what happens if this continues to happen? Now the bank's saying, holy shit, I just looked at my balance sheet and I have this guy over leveraged to the hits, and I can't do that. So now you're saying now I'm the bank. I have the incentive to take care of my friend because his liability is now going to be my liability, and I don't want that.
And just to be clear, and from the bank in your example, it's not so much that the bank cares one way or the other. The bank just needs to make sure that they are seen as competent by the other banks so that they can continue to do business with the other banks.
Exactly.
So anyways,
the restraint on the banking system is, let's say me and Justin are both banks and we've been doing business. We can just create money to each other because literally that poof. I can open up a loan for Justin for $1 billion. He has $1 billion, and then we're passing off these liabilities, and all is good. We're rich until Bank C comes along. And Bank C, if I'm doing business with Bank C, and then I say, "Oh, by the way, my dollars are on Justin's balance sheet, but don't worry, he's good for it." Then Bank C's like, "I don't know Justin. He's not my friend. We haven't been boys since we were 5 years old. I don't want my dollars to be on Justin's balance sheet." So that is where the counterparty risk comes in. This is why you need to show that you can prove it to these other banks. And this is what happened with Bear Stearns is everyone collectively agreed, hey, we don't trust them. Let's not do business with them. Therefore, they're going under. Who will that happen to this time?
Yeah. Well, and the two follows up, again, not to go back and keep harping on geopolitics, but let's just say you have banks and forget, let's just say all the banks are being professional and they're trying to be good stewards and they're not doing anything hanky-panky. So let's just suspend our belief of reality and accept this ridiculous assumption for a second. That bank, if that bank is, let's say, doing business with another bank and everything was at least on the level, but that other bank that they're doing business with is in some sort of, hostile jurisdiction that has, a political set of constraints imposed upon the bank through no fault of the bank. So then all of a sudden you've got this impairment of collateral because if that bank can't service the asset they lent to the first bank, you're going to have problems. So that's the first thing that happens. The second thing I would say is that the entire system, so in this case, we're talking about the Eurodollar system, but it could just as easily be the DTCC with share rehypothecation. Like it's the same stack of bullshit. It could just as easily be COMEX with paper metals and so on and so forth. So here's the thing, Josh, as you alluded to earlier, the fact that one counterparty will essentially have a blind amount of trust in the other counterparty, that's what allows the game to keep on going. This is, balance sheet expansion over and over and over again. But the catch is the regulator or like the people to blow the whistle on balance sheet expansion are the very same people who benefit and who prosper by continuing to expand their balance sheet. And so like the very people we have entrusted, or maybe I should say like that, the very people who are currently entrusted with self-regulation have the strongest of motives to regulate in a way that works for them, not necessarily for the market. So there is no effective constraint. Again, silver, I think, has the story. GME has the story with the shorts just keeping, as the shorts go shorter and shorter and shorter. This is, the trust and the trust and the trust. And the reason why people aren't blowing the whistle on each other is they know the first one to blow the whistle is going to end the party for everyone. I use the analogy of imagine all these people in a theater that's ablaze, fire everywhere. And all these banks, all of these primary dealers, COMEX, whatever, right? They're all just kind of sitting there, maybe it'll start raining or maybe it'll just go out, but the first person actually calls fire and runs for the exit. As soon as that happens, entire thing's over. This is why I think when you're trying to look at where we are in the cycle right now, to look at milestones. So don't necessarily look at dates per se, but look at milestones. And I think one of the biggest milestones to get out of this current phase that we're in is when the system, when I say system, this would be COMEX, this would be like the DTCC and the various reporting agencies, this would be like the Eurodollar system, the banks themselves, when these guys actually have to report their true financial position. No shenanigans, no exotic transactions, no warehousing. This is how many IOU, whatever we have issued.
The current system that we are in, I don't think that will ever happen. I think that was going to take a loss of confidence in the entire system, which I know where you're going with, blah, 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 XRP, blah, 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 Swift replacement.
Well, hold on. Let's not piss off everyone in one video. I think that you're absolutely right. Like under the system is designed to, take care of the system. I would say make no mistake. But again, consider the geopolitical wild card on this. February, was it 28th? No. back up. February of 2021, circa February of 2021, Fedwire went down. It was like 11 a.m. Eastern, thereabouts, for a few hours. Within minutes, GME started a rapid ascent. Then it was able to be tamped back down once Fedwire came back online. But I note that. And if you wanted to project geopolitical force through a financial vector, and if you just simply happen to have hackers or whatever, right, some of the best in the business, and if you, let's say, wanted to take down, let's say, a major, not take down, but let's say you wanted to take offline for the better part, or backup. Let's say that you knew just how to spook the algorithms to trigger a mass sell-off. So you create the panic. And then once the panic's done, you then basically crash the entire system. And let's say it takes, 2 or 3 business days for, markets to reopen just because the computers are in shambles. So it's not saying they can't reopen. They certainly can. But just due to the nature, they have to go back, restore everything. And even if they unwind the transactions, like they tried to do with nickel, even if they try to unwind the transactions, it's like, hey, we're just going to reset back before the shenanigan happened, you still have spooked the market. You still have introduced the contagion of fear. And that, I think, is, or I just simply think that that's going to be one of the things where we're going to see. If for no other reason, Klaus and his ilk keep talking about, we must protect, or how does he say it? We must plan for the cyber pandemic, just as we have the vaccine, blah, 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 whatever. Or
I was going to give you some pushback there, but then you came out with the great Klaus line, and you... And you hooked me in. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for that to happen, but I do have a feeling that the elites, as they often predict the future, or they create it, and I'm not sure which is which. So,
a little bit of both.
Yes.
Leading and pacing.
Just as a final thought, today is Tuesday, March 8th at 11 p.m. Yesterday, Monday, we talked about opening a pretty large position in Zim. I did. Justin did not. Earnings are tomorrow, Wednesday. This video is probably going to go up Wednesday. So we shall see what happens. I am either going to be crying all day tomorrow, probably with my GME losses and with my Zim losses, or I will have a sliver of makeup. But who knows what is going to happen, as geopolitics may ruin my day. Who knows?
And last thing I will say for this is, for everyone else who's in the GME boat right now, do not feel bad with your losses. There are those who will remain nameless who might be staring down 6-figure losses, but paper losses that are. It's not a loss till you close the trade. So
Justin is hurt. Justin is hurting.
No, not me. Maybe, but not me. It is what it is.
Justin happens to enjoy the pain. It keeps him alive.
It's how that you're alive, exactly. Yeah.
So one of these days I will go bald, and Justin have a head of hair, but April is not until next month. So without further ado, fellas and felistas, we shall see you guys